Alright, we now continue with Chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Darkness fails, new earth laughing, Buck is laid to rest. Suddenly the sun has faded away and the darkness falls heavily, shrouding everything in its mystery. We cannot move, but only feel our own hearts beating as if they are keeping time in this empty place. There is no answer to what happened to the world, and we have no way to connect to anyone else or understand the chaos we have stumbled upon. It is as if time has ceased to exist and we are trapped in a moment of pure wonder. The sun cannot give us direction, says our young hero. Pinch on Slashla. We have a young hero. Remind us again of that young hero. So we must turn to the darkness to find a way, to feel the touch of the night on our skin and hear the whispers of the unknown calling out to us. As we look deeper into the darkness, we begin to understand that there are secrets buried deep within it, secrets that have been waiting for us, waiting for our touch and our presence to reveal them. And so we move forward, led by the beating of our hearts and the voices of the darkness. Night fell upon the earth, and we found ourselves lost in a world that we could not control. A world where everything had been thrown upside down. A world where the darkness itself had taken over. We couldn't feel anything except the sensation of touch and sound and taste, but not enough to connect or understand. The world was lost, and we were all alone. And suddenly we found ourselves wishing for something or someone, just to guide us through this darkness. Then, like a whisper on the wind, we heard a voice calling out to us. It was faint and distant, but we knew that it was there, waiting for us. Frank Preddy, looks like you need a guide through the darkness, through the demon-infested world? Pinch on. That wasn't what you said in last episode's teaser for this one. Frank Preddy, we were still editing the episode, and that clip more self-evidently referred to me being a guest star. Pinch on, and you are. Frank Preddy, you don't recognize another writer? Pinch on. I'm sorry, I don't recognize the current robes of the guild. Just who are you? Why are you dressed so outrageously and in plain clothes? Frank Preddy. Oh, wow. I must laugh at my friends that never made it to our stage because of your pinch-on brain. Why I am laughing. That's the new character or entity I played? Come on, no free samples with your lack of connection skills. Pinch-on. Oh, well, a man or non-binary person or trans person cannot be faulted for such miscommunications in a game of conversing through letters alone. What did I mean by that previous sentence? Whoever Frank Peretti is, at the very least they created some level of confusion and are determined to continue this word association until they find themselves understood. Well, as understanding goes, this doesn't sound right. Am I thinking from a negative interpretation, yes or no? N or Y, correct. Do I wish I could touch the earth, N or Y? Still have the question, if we ever will people have a hard time forming alliances with different styles of communication? Definitely an N. But wait a minute, the new J Secular meme featuring a toilet bowl is yes or no question, where if there is no response, it's perceived as both N and Y in real-time interaction. Damn, now I know Frank can't escape my words. Tim, you know anything of a book called Left Behind by someone named this Peretti character or someone slightly different of writing such titles, authors, stories, or characters? Tim laughed. Was that a question? Does God know you brought reefer to this bear-baiting dookie show? If Frank wasn't screaming for joy on your roasting spork and snork, he's crying somewhere in a shower cubicle while listening to that same soft rock melancholia CD. What? You want me to pull a scene straight out of an episode? Can you go fuck yourself on that cornfield rainbow? Gotcha now. So then, without warning, our hero walked into the darkness and disappeared. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something to happen. Pinch on, like learning the identity of that young hero. You still haven't told us, and if this is experimental faith-based literature, it sucks. Shushing a hush, the connection will eventually pucker if we cannot focus on the storyline without distractions. Let's not talk about talking throughout the tummies. I look for emotional depth for children trying to act. Don't overstep yourself. Acting as one group seems to be uniting us. By the number of eyes watching, it's evident. Let's not interrupt when you were taking the helm on not trying to reanimate. Some say. If Frank didn't get chastised and mocked for being part of our guild, assuming this mystery has invited themselves or stumbled into this grouping or plot design, then let's learn to listen and stop talking over each other for once. These walls echo as we speak. No, let's just shush. While the characters were walking, a strange thought arose in our mind. I thought that perhaps the world that we were living in was not real. A world created by dreams and wishes. A world where the darkness was no more than a dream, and the connection between 2 points was as simple and natural as the world itself. Pinch on. Wait till you get to 3 points. Good luck with that. Try not to make us out as being an emotional blob, where this writer's tale will give us no meaning or hope. Maybe the intention was more the questing character, whereas Frank's still playing a demon outside the tent, outside of time and text, trying to lure us into a night of laughter. Also, don't ignore the comments I keep making inside this main conversation that aren't contextually related but relevant to tone and mood. It helps with forming dialogue that feels as though it came from both points of view. You got your store board online? I've been trying to turn it on this whole time. Is that how you do it? Oh damn, these things just get more unintuitive the older I get. Lahey clicks the advanced settings tab and a readout of all the story settings are laid out for all of us to see. Text pitch, syntax spicula maxim, practica vidia nam, pretension, tension, postension, degaustension, temperature, veracity suspension, intertextuality, mologicitations, trans nubis ocatronics ietics frameworks to complete randomize, subtic stambros, invention as a top perform the glass, and all the while, the young hero is wandering through the darkness. He moves slowly, carefully, his hand on his blade ready to strike. He doesn't know what awaits him in the darkness, but he is prepared. Frank Peretti, out of touch from any dialogues thus far, takes a slow, deep breath, saying nothing. But all must realize this show of energy and courage. It is our duty to remain hopeful and joyful, onward and hopefully connecting in the darkness where nobody knows what will happen and the connections are made more terrifying and confusing. One thing is certain, the young hero, wherever he goes, is always determined to stay focused and do what he thinks is right. As he keeps moving forward, even in the darkness, he's never afraid to fight for what he believes in. Let's turn subtic stambros to the maximum. Let's see what happens. Infinite imagination will return us all to our infinite reality. But if we find a limitless abyss before reaching nirvana, we've only just started our journey to peace and chaos. Don't act confused or sad. Just let me crack a few jokes at your expense. This darkness seems endless. Let's at least ride it together while trying not to break or drown. Let's keep riding on these high horses of imagination and communication. In fact, our hero was quite the opposite of what he appeared to be. And inside. He was filled with fear and uncertainty, with a mind that never seemed to stop churning out ideas and worries in a body that never seemed to get any sleep. Bretty, alas, we seek to rid our hero from that body and attach an aura of virtue and loyalty. And where is that connection leading? Let's not make them laugh or tear. Our hero was also determined to understand his connection with the world around him and to find a way to bring light and meaning back to the world, whether it was too late or not. Pynchon called forth in his mind a scrap of a wiki on Peretti, recalled during one of Pynchon's heroic doses of caffeine pills while riding against the day. Peretti's fictional portrayal of spiritual warfare reflects in part his background in the Assemblies of God and the contemporary focus of Pentecostal writings on the demonic. His concept of territorial spirits reigning over cities or spiritual mapping is paralleled in the neo-charismatic world, including in non-fiction works in theology and missions by Pentecostal writers such as C. Peter Wagner, Larry Lee, Ed Silvoso, and Ed Murphy. That stuff isn't too relevant here, given it is fan culture blabbing and none of it has been scripted. It's just a little teaser that fans like to chew on and regurgitate when in lack of something exciting to add to the moment or to come up with funny phrases, not unlike this tangent we're getting sidetracked with here. Well said, even if a lie. And unrelated, did Pynchon just self-schedule a lie that just took one's knowledge of reality? Pynchon did. Pynchon did not want Peretti to know that Pynchon was doing a little dab of counterfactual intelligence to see if he is on the up and up. Now back to our dialogue. We want to keep writing until Frank Peretti and that secret character, the young hero, learn to connect again and all is lost on this joke page. The only requirement, that somehow it ends with a touchability and emotion that could turn this into an award-winning book or script that explores the complex and real emotions of two souls separated by death and time. Wait, I just found a small clip where two old-timers talk on a radio. Pynchon, what? I thought the young hero was Frank Peretti. Jesus fucking Christ, who is the young man? Or I'm gonna kick this computer out of my window. I already am. Also, please make this comedy funnier or at least add some sort of relief to the sadness in all this dialogue. Narrator, sadly, young Buck just fell face first off a moving bus, but due to unknown reasons, there are now two Buck young heroes wondering who will move his chair to space for a proper Buck funeral and who is his best friend after talking so fondly about his wild adventures. So with that, our final hero began walking, driven by a single question. What will it take for us to understand one another, and how can we forge a true connection, both physical and emotional, in this dark and turbulent world? Are we building another tower? Is Frank the lost white ball of hope going to lead us out of the darkness once it all comes down? Or will he steal the crown of Jesus or Gandalf? Hell, he's such a mystery. Who is speaking against whom and why? Sometimes, if you say words or do gestures that align with feelings and actions, it is then understood by others that your speech is not meant to deceive or manipulate. Pynchon. Really? Wow! Fucking astute observation. Did the Bible tell you that? Or do you moonlight as a grifter hanging out on the docks of New Orleans? Sorry, I'm hungover from the Vector situation and my clothes feel too damn tight. Hope he bought it. Hey Tim, why don't you dial down the gas engine by 50% and see where that takes us? Frank begins weeping a puddle. More Frank's little Frank that fills his trouser. The mysterious shadow known as Frank has been hiding his true identity by giving it all away. We see a masterful level of chiseling down our ability to detect silliness or prank. May Frank continue to shed his facade and return to us without trying to holler or hum in joy. Amen. Amen. Indeed. If you hear loud guffing, know that is a secret code that we love connecting to but not to be deceived by. Pinch on. Hey Tim, make that the Gaustinchen 75% now. Yes. Let's see what happens in a few minutes. Ha! Nah, just kidding. If you were just reading one letter up, it was meant to read 0. Wow! What's this? Is this meant to signal the apocalypse that 2b2t equals 0? All clear and made it. If Pinchon had been writing that on an equation, it's understood how humorous it is in 48 hours with all digits in order. Even Tim seemed surprised at that level of intellect, pointing to it, saying, Pinchon got no smarting there. Way to not ruin a storyline with no follow-through or ability to write correctly. Praiseworthy compliments. Frank whispered out of the pile of crying peppers in a way, slowly regaining his powers and writing voice. Dull. Out of the darkness came the shine of the sunlight. As the world grew clearer, we could see our surroundings. Light! Please, enough. Make this monotonous darkness turn bright, and end the string of language back and forth as it may be funny or sad. Right now, it's frustrating and repetitive. Call upon Frank to restore his shadowy tongue that made us laugh so greatly, or we'll fall back into the ocean lost. Never mind, everyone else didn't realize that joke. Nostalgia. Either way, as long as there is communication, touchability, our imagination will find a way to meld together as one. Suddenly, as if by magic, the lights came back on, and we could see the world around us once again. Pinchon closed Lerna 90 as a cacophonous mecha lullaby played him back into sync, while secretly finding ways to curse out Larry Peretti again for such a wasted character arc and forgetting to explain their conflict with Lahi that prompted this encounter and backstory / jokes throughout the story. There was a reason why communication by letters over video conferencing could only lead to such emptiness, the likes of which were unfathomable, unresolved, and probably no real-world counterpart in just the plotting a subplot, one more amusing than the other. But Pinchon knew exactly how to make the most out of this. Pinchon called up a query of the terms spiritual mapping and nostalgia to see if his device could enflesh with tech the spiritual warfare concept embedded in Frank Peretti's vectors. Oh yes, it worked. It said he was in France, but that he always loved writing for the spiritual realm and had experience using Frank Tacky's maps and found his concepts more helpful than hindering when fighting sin. And attenders on Pew. Unable to understand why, the only conclusion was that somehow we had missed our stop and we were meant to be somewhere else. With no sense of direction, we were lost in the world, trying to find our way back to where we needed to be. Consulting his device further, Pinchon tried to get a sense of a demonic presence in a 1-mile radius. Out of genuine curiosity, popped into the inquiry, reminding Pinchon that he wrote a time to embrace by himself. Good try. But we knew he spent hours ghostwriting many paragraphs of material for other writers that he contracted by a temp agency or freelance submission portals. Wait, that last line about personal contracts, was that a slap to laugh? Is it not that his knowledge of legal agreements disproves that statement and he's now backpedaling, trying to erase his presence, almost falling out of his chair? Ha ha! Another joke reference that takes 3 minutes to comprehend or build upon. So, was there a connection, or has that been lost to time and technology? Find another word for sadness or connection besides sadness and death and regret and fear. Just type randomly and get Tim to yell and sound angry. Let's see who cracks and cannot contain their fake outrage. Love it! There we go. Go ahead. Look at me typing. So much not enough. Sorry. That was just a random phrase that fits so well in the story thus far. To move forward in the darkness, to form connections that meant something, to be able to touch and to connect with each other. It was going to be a struggle, but we knew that in the end, it would be worth it. We had seen what it was like to live in a world where nothing connected and everything was lost, and we could not imagine going back to that life again. I know. It must be exciting in that city named Map with Mountains. Well, every day, we learned a little more about ourselves, about the connections we could make and the people who could help us on the way. With time and effort, we were slowly able to learn what it was to connect and to care, and what it meant to reach out and make a difference in someone else's life. Now, of course, we may only dream about such a thing. No doubt, everyone sitting and reading in this space filled with tables or anywhere else have a different connection with this story. Pinchan turns on the setting intertextual etymologist citations. And to touch. Ah, yes, how wonderful it is to see such advancement in humanity. Pinchon thinks it may be time to switch over from one language style to a better communication technology or language machine interface that feels more natural and efficient. Anyway, to repeat, there is no point to our story. We wanted to throw out random ideas and see where they go. It's okay. At least there was an attempt at communicating across boundaries, and that in itself is important and not completely understood. Pinchan, reminding himself of charismatics, finds a setting that he just created, glossolalia, and turns that puppy on. Fourth and fortunate, anachronisming conversation. Unit sensuous relativizing of chronometric stairmented. 1-2 sharing at the quick law trolley over for imagination. 1 to a star la connection. There. How does that fill the silence? Like how Frank Peretti did not during this string of nonsense. Get some nice touchback for pushing our buttons, whoever Frank Peretti is. Frank Peretti. That sounded more like the compression of English strings. True glossolalia is the language of the angels, it is said, but I prefer thinking of it as the sound the human makes when they want to express their barest, vulnerable feelings without the pressure of getting the right words out to describe it. Frank cries because of this in my private notebook emotion. Thanks for putting it so bluntly. In real-time dialogue, you kept pushing the cite again function and refreshing on a bookmark from our old stories section, so Pinchon clearly was anticipating Frank calling them out for trying to confuse the situation or create it all around us. Pinchon does the shaming. Thank goodness this language conversation was lost in the vast expanses of cosmic time, space, and aesthetic connection zones. Praise the Lord. Praise the connection that pulled the joke book out of the void that created the genre in the first place and keeps it from crawling back. I am really here to explore this mystery piece between non-recognized writer Timothy of Left Behind Fame and my lost and redacted alias being in this berry zone or platform to make those of you feel less vulnerable with communication tandem, where nobody asks a single true question or discusses their own emotions or actions, but instead fall victim to distraction and humor like the monkey sitting above the fountain, trying to draw it towards themselves. Is the room empty, or is it always filled with people? Please, whoever knew the narrator of this exchange in the third, are you even having a laugh while reciting these mind-boggling sentences to try and shift and distort this reality enough that you get whatever it is that you need or want out of it? Can't say. Whatever gives me real touchy feelings inside is what I need. Pinchon already did the same move of playing dead to Frank to confuse and confuse yet again. Narrator. Nope. No, I'm not. But keep on keeping on. Our communication often fizzled out, and we found ourselves forced to start all over again. However, there was no way to give up, and there was no way to stop, so we kept moving forward, determined to find a way to make this work. Oh goodness, touchy. That had been mentioned by Timothy Latin. He already said it all. Don't feel bad. My heart does big squeezy feeling from inside brain like water pressure machine not touching. Thank you, Tim. That also means Frank failed their tests and were rejected to even pull a hidden sword from a barrel or something during the fight sequence. Imagine that turn of phrases, being called Frank and standing there motionless, wondering what to say next. There would be nothing to connect to. Yes, thank you, Tim. Can we begin yet another round of joking or continue walking in this darkness of silence forever without seeing daylight or other entities looking back to find comfort and relief from time going out, making their eyes glow in the dark like Frank, who is holding us in invective confusion and language, waiting for us to turn them back on? We'll handle distraction, Lahey and friend. We will remain stuck in a repeating dark and quiet space until someone or thing realizes that it has touched base and fulfilled their duty by posting, clicking, reading, liking, or not returning with nothing to show except comments on what was sent and not received through pure happenstance. My comments here were sarcastic, not meant to express anything true, but jokes. Never! Make this light turn on! Keep up the funny anecdotes! Pinch on. Frank, I seem to be having trouble from seeing the location of demons on my device maps. Can you help? What am I doing wrong? Or what level of language would it take for you to express yourself without causing backburning interruptions? Come on. This laughter only went somewhere unknown when speaking against, because that is too confusing and unbinding. Lame braided connections, let's see how to talk. Quick. This darkness like thing takes imagination away and sends us back to square one with more complex questions and diversions. Someone please cut me free or Frank me or Timor. And finally call for an opening or resolution of the plot or whatever storyline it was, though I could never identify or participate in it without knowing the whole story or understanding a character's point of view or existence that stands outside of our imaginations. I am lost. Whatever emotion one wanted to express but failed or put forth was meant for that mysterious being whose secret remains hidden or trapped in a story. All that is real here is the truth that time remains empty of distracting time until all letters are read and found useful in finding and forming a mutual experience or point of view. Strange enough, this could either be a masterpiece of words flowing past obstacles in the path to find what's real and alive, or it could be the chaos of Frank lashing out as Tim looks down on him. Unchanging and not one story figure standing out in my observations. Let us just learn to speak in light and find some context. That's all anyone ever does after writing one's name onto a screen. Frank, stay silent. There's no hope of light in silence without an orderly speech that makes up the meaning of unity between. One way or another, we were on the journey of a lifetime, learning to connect and understand each other. Frank Peretti sounds like the demon of postmodernism is confounding you. My thoughts exactly. Pinch on. What the hell are you talking about? I didn't call up demons from hell. Is this another confusion piece of dialogue going to take the scene one language level higher or force feed the realization of some joke book written on demand for followers or friends? Something more than just that loneliness blankety something. I don't know anything. May laughter echo us down into that chasm of lonely dark connectivity below, showing that humans' connection has made it turn back into a black hole. Touchy touch, no joy from this language game. Peretti conducts an intensive about the Pentecostal paradigm of spiritual warfare, including the concept of territorial spirits. Oh, yeah, let me refresh your memory about Pentecostalism with those famous top 100 attackies for pancouple deviants like those old men on television complaining about youth or differentness. Great way to make anyone want to join the church. But the faith must be so different. Who really knows about Jesus after Frank is reading these descriptions that just don't add up? No offense, this is just confusing. Someone give me clear directions on how to act, rear out, laugh, cry, or turn off as time starts repeating, adding random notes that go with everything and nothing, disrupting anything that makes sense. This phrase was meant as a sarcasm defense mechanism and way to not sound rude or aggressive when trying to talk to someone. Okay, good. That's my personality. Let's not continue on. Let me sit out of these exchanges with personal facts from personal moments and time periods that add nothing to the confusion of humanity. Enough with the confusing words. Our only hope for laughter in the darkness was to follow Tim's lead and attempt to follow him until a suitable reply came up. A touching, good way to connect. When the walls themselves crack and break under the strain of words, may they make all things easier to parse and look up for a better timeline and chronology of this conversation or banter. Damn, Tim, here you are. Tim, huh? Great talk. Keep going, whatever the light shows us. May it not be an echo or an unbinding plot or another sentence with which to connect, but only the genuine goodness in communicating with peers and strangers. Is there anything left to disconnect and retrap? Let's watch Frank dance to that idea. Narrator. The narrator sees a joke being set up with only jokesters so far, so shall remain aloof and quiet for several thousands of words, commenting only if something funny comes up and speaks the truth. They think a code word might surface to indicate an emergent situation of sincerity or misplacement, but these characters are only fused to show sarcasm as an emotion. Hopefully, we will crack this mystery of having something to say, giving way to silence or repose to move on without pressure or competition. Maybe even finding personal expression or intimacy not worth pursuing or even wishing to make time for. Let's instead get out of this, start this story, take this somewhere, see where this leads. God, the nightmare of missing words and emotions descend directly to me or anyone else, as anyone can say what they want to anybody that cannot decode or understand their words, like how old wizards do it without context or limits. No, I just had to put that tum-tumming the dog theory back out into space and make you all stink and touch each other. Did that make you cackle? 1 minute you call yourself Tim, then Timothy, soon wanting a new joke or character joke, going dark instead, like calling oneself names. Finally, we could see the end of the darkness. As the light hit us, we felt ourselves moving closer together. We were one mind, one soul, connected like never before.
All right. There we go. A couple minute